So thank you very much then. So a brief update from the Samvera Outreach and Engagement Working Group. Firstly, to record, I suppose, the name, which I've forgotten to change on that slide. That's not very good, is it? So we were the Samvera Marketing Working Group, and that just reinforces it. And then in the autumn of last year, we did a review of our role, our charter, our understanding of what the group was there to do, and recognized that the origins of the group, which was formed where in the year that we migrated from being Hydra to Samvera, were perhaps no longer strictly as what they used to be when we started that process back then. In that stage, it was very much about going out there, telling everyone that Hydra was now Samvera. And everyone needs to take on board what Samvera is, and that Samvera is the same as what Hydra was in terms of their understanding. Looking at how other groups have carried out this work over time, other open source communities, other open source projects, we noted far more of an emphasis on outreach and engagement in more recent years, and hence we decided to change the name of the group to that, and that's why. Hence the update from that group. Now, having said that, much of what we do has carried on as before, and we have a regular meeting on Wednesdays every other week at 11:30 Eastern time, and we also have a Slack channel that you can use in order to contact us. Although I'm realizing I really should have updated this rather more. I'll make sure it is for the shared slides. I'd like to say thank you very much to all the members of the group who meet and help keep this conversation going. In particular, we did re-release our charter when we did change our name just before Christmas, and that led to some new engagement from Kevin, Kirsten and Molly, and we're very grateful to have them on board in terms of the discussions going forward. And I would also want to encourage everyone who's interested in how we can talk about Samvera, how we can go out and engage others with Samvera. Please come along, drop in and share your ideas and thoughts, because they'd be great to hear. In terms of the activity, so as I said, refresh the group's charter and the name, focus on outreach and engagement rather than marketing per se. That's not to say we won't do marketing, but it's just to reshape the emphasis of what we're focusing on doing in terms of reaching out to all the different communities within the Samvera community in order to ensure that they feel part of the community, but also reaching out to those people outside the Samvera community to help them understand what Samvera is doing as a community itself. And then engaging with them in a way that is appropriate and helpful to them in the way that we can engage with them. Welcome to new members. And I'd say one of the key areas that's been beneficial in having new members come and join us is that it's highlighted that there are particular activities, projects, and work out there within the Samvera community, which is very much about outreach and engagement. Because individual projects have needed to engage with their user communities. And there's much that we can learn from these different experiences of what it's meant to go out and talk to different groups about what Samvera is, what Samvera can bring to them, and how it can help them in whatever they do. So the more we can share, brilliant, and do that through this working group. There's various ways we can do that. So over the years, we've shared presentations. We have the repo.samvera.org, which was referenced earlier, as being a repository of all the presentations we give at events such as this one, which is a fantastic resource. One of the discussions we've had recently, which we're looking to see whether there's how we can develop further, is that one of the collections in the repository is Samvera in print. And this is where there have been a few journal articles written or a book chapter about Samvera or referencing Samvera. There's not much in that collection, and we'd very much like to hear about any journal articles or book chapters or other literature that you may have written that references or talks about Samvera, and to have it added to that collection. People can add items to the collection themselves, so it'd be great if you could go ahead and just do that. Or if not, then do share it through our Slack channel or with the group, and we'll happily look to build it up or add it to that collection. Equally, and this was sparked by a conversation recently by an invitation to contribute to an open access book about open access communities, there may be opportunities out there for us to engage in writing journal articles or book chapters about Samvera in order to record it and actually reach different audiences and broader audiences. And therefore, if such opportunities arise, then it'd be great to share them and work together on what we can contribute towards these publications. The other activity which has been undertaking over the course of the year has been to revisit and take a fresh look at the Samvera motto. So we have a Samvera motto. It's there at the bottom of the Samvera slide deck template. If you want to go far, go together. We've had it from the very early days of the Hydra project. It's served us incredibly well, and we need to continue using it where it is of use to us. But again, in part of sort of reflecting where we were as a community now, we thought it would be useful to at least revisit whether there was particular drivers or key messages that it might be quite nice to reflect in a motto, which we could use alongside the existing one, or instead of. Again, this comes down to the communication and the engagement that you're looking to carry out, who you're trying to communicate to, and what they would like to hear in terms of what Samvera can offer them. Essentially, how can we go further together by trying to revisit the messages and the drivers that we would like to put out there to various communities? So the partner community was fantastic in providing us with a whole heap of input at the partner meeting that took place in March. And those options are currently being reviewed and will be shared in due course in order to decide whether or not there's any particular motto within there that we would be great for the community to take on board and make use of. So thank you very much for all the input that's been received. It was fantastic. It really sparked off some interesting ideas about what we are trying to portray and how we could do that best. And we'll see where it takes us. Moving on, there's also been a lot of work done on the Samvera website over the last few months, and I'm going to hand over to Adam, who's been doing a lot of that work and also has a nice video that describes what has been undertaken. So I will stop my share so Adam can share his.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Marling. I'm a developer at Northwestern University Libraries. And yeah, I prepared a little video that I hope kind of show some of the behind the scenes, the transition to a new home for the Samvera website. Let me find it here. Make sure I have audio. Show computer sound. I'm going to play this. If for some reason you can't hear the audio in the video, if someone could give a shout out, I'd appreciate it. Here we go.
So I'll start with the brief overview of what this is all about. Made a decision to migrate from a WordPress hosted site to a new web application, static site, which gives more control over future design and features. We have decided upon Next.js, a popular JavaScript framework for building apps and also static sites. For CSS styling, we use Tailwind CSS as a package for help in being able to inline and get quick visual feedback on CSS updates. Next.js is full stack, which runs Node.js on the server side and uses React components client side. The server side features allows user Next to do things like write, content in Markdown or build APIs as part of the framework. But ideally, we wanted to end up with a static site updatable by anyone who's comfortable using GitHub. So over the course of the last year, we built the new site in the GitHub Samvera org space. And feel free to give it a once over and let us know your thoughts. This wasn't a redesign of the samvera.org website, but rather just recreates the previous WordPress theme styles through new CSS, and end users should expect the same functionality on the website as before. So how does one use and update the app? We envisioned two main user groups for the new web application: content managers and developers. Content managers will interact almost exclusively with Markdown files, which are located in the Markdown directory. The file and folder organization in the Markdown directory gets recreated in the app's primary navigation bar when that builds. So if you create a new file or update, it will be reflected in the primary navigation automatically when the app builds. Each Markdown file uses front matter as a convention to give page info, like the title, date of the post or page. We provided some helpful screenshots in the README, which hopefully gives some extra pointers and tips. A content manager can make updates in one of two ways. If you have a code editor you're comfortable with, you can update a file directly, in an ID like VS Code, or alternatively, and maybe more simply, a content manager can make updates directly to the file in a web browser at the repository home in GitHub. So here we could update the same FAQ page, create a new branch, give it a title, create a pull request. We could do this all in one place within GitHub's web page UI. If we look back to the README, there's some screenshots and hopefully helpful instructions which detail this process. When a pull request is merged into the main branch, a few things happen. We have GitHub Actions set up to first build the app and all the new assets. A static version of the website is created. And then finally, we synced GitHub pages so that a site can be hosted on GitHub in its home repository. So next we'll look at this app through the eyes of a developer and how they might make updates, bug fixes, etc. The first step is to clone the GitHub repository on your local dev machine and install the project dependencies. Then we'll spin up a local running version of the app that we can develop against. And a developer could make the same content updates a content manager might make, but most likely a developer would be working on React component code or code which runs in the server environment. For our static site, the server-side code is only executed during the build process, and there's not like a live server environment. Everything is currently set up to handle dynamic routing in the application to allow for flexibility in adding and removing pages. The general workflow when the app builds is that the app reads the Markdown directory, gets the information architecture, and then dynamically constructs static pages, child pages, and injects Markdown content into each statically generated page. And that's pretty much it. This is just a starting point, and we figured an app like this is a nice way to showcase, maybe alternative standard Samvera code bases. Maybe newcomers might be interested in JavaScript solutions, or perhaps one of you out there could use something like this for an internal project which lets Markdown drive a website that has a lot of flexibility on where it might eventually live. So any questions, comments, concerns, please let us know. There are some new features we'll be adding in the next few months. So if anyone's curious to pair or learn more, feel free to contact myself or Heather. Thanks.